I want you to think about something for a moment. Think about the oldest person you know who still seems genuinely alive. Not just physically present, but actually alive, sharp, energetic, engaged, moving through the world with purpose and vitality. Now think about someone else you know, maybe the same age or even younger, who seems to be fading, tired, foggy, moving slowly, withdrawn. What's the difference between these two people? What's the invisible factor that determines whether someone ages gracefully or ages rapidly? I'm going to tell you something that might sound simple, but it's one of the most powerful discoveries in longevity science. The difference often comes down to one decision, one choice that happens every single night. A choice most people make almost unconsciously without realizing they're literally controlling their own aging process. That choice is, when do you sleep? Now I know what you're probably thinking. Sleep is sleep. As long as I get 7 or 8 hours, it doesn't matter when. And I understand why you'd think that. You've probably heard it 1,000 times. You need 7 or 8 hours. That's what matters. But I'm here to tell you that this is only half the story. And the half you're missing might be the most important half. And I need you to commit to experimentation. Not forever. Just 3 weeks. 3 weeks of consistent early sleep. 3 weeks of getting morning light exposure. 3 weeks of creating evening darkness. If after 3 weeks you don't notice significant improvements in how you sleep, how you feel, and how you function, you can always go back to your old patterns. But I'm betting you won't want to. The version of yourself that's waiting for you, more rested, more energetic, more vital, more mentally sharp, that version is closer than you think. It's not years away. It's not dependent on genetics or luck. It's dependent on one choice: when you sleep. So let's begin. Let's explore the science. Let's understand how your body works. And let's discover that your best sleep and your healthiest aging might be waiting for you starting tonight. Thank you for being here. Let's unlock the power of optimal sleep timing together. Circadian rhythm alignment represents the foundational principle of optimal sleep and longevity because your entire body operates on a 24-hour biological clock that has evolved over millions of years in synchronization with the Earth's light-dark cycles. This internal clock, called the circadian rhythm, isn't located in a single place. It's distributed throughout your brain, your organs, and even your individual cells. Every cell in your body has its own circadian clock that's synchronized to a master clock in the hypothalamus region of your brain. When you sleep in alignment with natural light-dark cycles, all of these clocks synchronize together, creating what researchers call circadian coherence. And when circadian coherence exists, your body functions optimally. The significance of this alignment becomes apparent when you understand what your circadian rhythm controls. It regulates the release of hormones like melatonin, which controls sleep, cortisol, which manages stress response and energy mobilization, and growth hormone, which drives cellular repair and tissue maintenance. These hormones are released on a precise schedule that's designed by your biology to align with sunrise and sunset. When you sleep at 10 p.m., your melatonin is naturally peaking, your core body temperature is naturally dropping, and your body is biochemically prepared for sleep. Your cells are primed to enter repair mode. Your immune system is prepared to activate its nightly maintenance protocols. Your brain is ready to clear metabolic waste through the glymphatic system. The architecture of sleep follows a predictable pattern beginning immediately after you fall asleep. Your brain cycles through light sleep stages before entering deep sleep, where the most restorative processes occur. These deep sleep stages, also called slow-wave sleep, are when growth hormone is maximally released, when your brain's glymphatic system most actively clears neurotoxic proteins, and when your immune system undergoes critical restoration. The deepest, most restorative sleep typically occurs in the first 2 to 3 hours after you fall asleep, when your body's biological drive for sleep is strongest. When you sleep at 9 or 10 p.m., these critical deep sleep stages occur at 11 p.m. to 1 a.m. when your body is naturally primed for deepest restoration. But when you sleep at 1 or 2 a.m., those same deep sleep stages occur at 3 to 5 a.m. when your body is already beginning to shift toward wakefulness and preparation for the day. Even if you sleep the same total duration, the quality of that sleep, the depth and restorative power differs dramatically. Early sleepers experience deeper, more restorative sleep because their deep sleep stages align with their body's strongest biological drive for sleep. This alignment translates into better cellular repair, superior hormone restoration, and measurably better health outcomes across all aging markers in seniors who maintain consistent early sleep schedules. Sleep duration sweet spot addresses a critical misconception that most people hold, the belief that 7 to 8 hours of sleep is simply 7 to 8 hours, regardless of when those hours occur. Research has conclusively demonstrated that sleeping 7 hours from 10 p.m. to 5 a.m. produces dramatically different health outcomes than sleeping 7 hours from 2 a.m. to 9 a.m., despite identical total duration. The difference lies in how many of those hours are spent in deep, restorative sleep stages versus lighter sleep stages, and this distribution is entirely dependent on timing, When seniors sleep from 10 p.m. to 6 a.m., they're aligning with the natural progression of their circadian rhythm at its strongest point. The first 2 to 3 hours of this sleep period occur when their body's biological drive for deep sleep is at maximum intensity. During these hours, the brain cycles rapidly through deep sleep stages, spending substantial time in slow-wave sleep where the most profound restoration occurs. As the night progresses, sleep becomes lighter, with more REM sleep and stage 1 and 2 sleep. This natural progression allows the body to maximize deep sleep during the hours when it's most physiologically primed for it. Conversely, when seniors sleep from 1 a.m. to 9 a.m., their deep sleep stages are compressed into fewer hours because their body's natural drive for deep sleep peaks earlier in their sleep cycle. By 7 or 8 a.m., their body is already transitioning toward wakefulness, with rising cortisol and body temperature. This means they're spending more of their sleep time in lighter stages when they could be spending it in deeper, more restorative stages. The result is that despite sleeping the same 7 or 8 hours, they're experiencing significantly less deep sleep, which translates to inferior cellular repair, reduced growth hormone release, and measurably worse health outcomes. The sweet spot for seniors is 7 to 8 hours of sleep time during peak circadian alignment, typically 10 p.m. to 6 a.m. Melatonin production peak represents one of the most scientifically documented yet widely ignored mechanisms for optimizing sleep quality and longevity, particularly for seniors whose melatonin production naturally declines with age. Melatonin is not simply a sleep hormone. It's a master regulator of your body's repair and regeneration systems, and its production follows an exquisitely precise circadian schedule that has remained virtually unchanged for millions of years. In seniors, melatonin production naturally begins rising around 8 p.m., reaches peak levels between 9 and 11 p.m., and then gradually declines through the remainder of the night. This isn't random timing, it's the biological signal that your body is prepared for sleep and cellular restoration. The critical insight is that melatonin's power extends far beyond simply making you sleepy. When melatonin levels are high, your body activates powerful cellular repair mechanisms. Melatonin is one of the most potent antioxidants your body produces, protecting your cells from free radical damage that accumulates throughout the day. Unlike antioxidants you consume from food, melatonin penetrates the blood-brain barrier and protects brain cells directly, making it crucial for cognitive health and dementia prevention. Additionally, melatonin suppresses inflammatory pathways throughout your body, reducing chronic inflammation that accelerates aging and disease development. One of melatonin's most remarkable functions is tumor suppression. Cancer cells thrive in darkness and low melatonin environments, but high melatonin actively inhibits tumor growth and activates immune cells that destroy cancer cells. Seniors sleeping during peak melatonin hours experience dramatically better cancer prevention compared to those sleeping during periods of melatonin decline. Furthermore, melatonin regulates immune cell activity, optimizing both innate and adaptive immunity during sleep hours when melatonin is high. When seniors sleep at 9 or 10 p.m., they're maximizing melatonin's availability during the exact hours when their body is most prepared to utilize it for deep cellular repair, immune restoration, and protection against age-related disease. Temperature regulation impact reveals a fundamental biological principle that most people never consider. Your body's core temperature naturally fluctuates throughout the day on a circadian schedule, and sleeping during the optimal temperature window dramatically reduces metabolic stress and allows your body to redirect energy towards cellular repair instead of thermoregulation. Your core body temperature naturally peaks in late afternoon around 5 p.m. when it reaches approximately 98.6 degrees Fahrenheit and then begins a gradual decline through the evening hours. This decline accelerates between 8 and 10 p.m., reaching its lowest point around 4 to 5 a.m. This natural temperature drop isn't random. It's a signal from your brain that it's time to sleep, and it's inextricably linked to your body's preparation for deep restoration. When you attempt to sleep during this natural temperature decline, your body requires minimal thermoregulation effort. Your physiology is already moving in the direction of lower temperature, so sleep becomes thermodynamically efficient. Your body can simply allow temperature to drop naturally while you're sleeping, requiring minimal metabolic work. However, when you try to sleep after this natural decline has already occurred, say at midnight or 1 a.m., your body must actively work to lower and maintain a lower core temperature. This thermoregulation requires energy expenditure, metabolic activation, and involves your sympathetic nervous system, which is designed for wakefulness, not sleep. This thermoregulation burden becomes increasingly significant for seniors because aging impairs the body's ability to regulate temperature efficiently. Seniors sleeping at misaligned times must use more metabolic energy managing thermoregulation, leaving less energy available for cellular repair, immune restoration, and tissue maintenance. Conversely, seniors sleeping during their natural temperature decline window experience seamless temperature regulation that requires minimal metabolic effort, allowing maximum energy allocation to deep sleep restoration and cellular rejuvenation processes that determine longevity and health outcomes. Growth hormone release timing represents one of the most critical factors determining whether seniors maintain muscle mass, bone density, and physical strength as they age, yet it's entirely dependent on when you fall asleep and when your deep sleep stages occur. Growth hormone is released almost exclusively during deep sleep, specifically during slow-wave sleep stages, and this release follows a highly predictable pattern based on your sleep cycle. The deepest, most intense growth hormone release occurs during the first 2 to 3 hours of sleep, when your brain is most actively cycling through deep sleep stages. This isn't distributed evenly throughout the night. The majority of your daily growth hormone production happens in this early sleep window. For seniors, this timing becomes absolutely critical because growth hormone is the primary biological mechanism preventing muscle atrophy and bone loss. As you age, your baseline growth hormone production naturally declines, but you can maximize what remains by sleeping during the hours when it's most powerfully released. When seniors go to bed at 10 p.m., their deepest sleep occurs between 10 p.m. and 1 a.m., precisely when their body is releasing maximum growth hormone. This hormone circulates through their bloodstream, signaling muscle cells to maintain and rebuild tissue, stimulating osteoblasts to maintain bone density, and activating metabolic processes that preserve physical capability. However, when seniors sleep at 1 or 2 a.m., their deepest sleep and maximum growth hormone release occur between 3 and 6 a.m., when their body is already beginning to shift toward wakefulness. This compression of deep sleep into later hours means less total growth hormone is released, and what is released occurs when the body is less responsive to it. The consequences are measurable. Seniors maintaining early sleep schedules show superior muscle preservation, higher bone density, better balance, and reduced fall risk compared to late sleepers with identical sleep duration. This difference becomes the distinction between maintaining independence and experiencing progressive physical decline. Cortisol rhythm optimization fundamentally impacts your entire stress response system and inflammatory state because cortisol, your primary stress hormone, follows a precise circadian pattern that determines whether your body experiences chronic stress or healthy stress adaptation. Cortisol naturally remains low during sleep and begins rising approximately 1 to 2 hours before you wake. This rise should be gradual, creating a gentle physiological transition from sleep to wakefulness that allows your body to activate without shock or excessive inflammatory response. In seniors sleeping from 9 or 10 p.m. to 6 a.m., cortisol begins rising around 4 to 5 a.m., gradually escalating so that by the time they wake, cortisol has smoothly elevated to support alertness and physical activation. The physiology of this gradual rise is elegant. As cortisol slowly increases during late sleep, it activates your cardiovascular system, mobilizes stored energy, and prepares your muscles for activity. This gentle escalation allows your immune system to adjust, your heart rate to increase naturally, and your brain to shift from sleep mode to wakefulness without stress. Your entire nervous system experiences a smooth transition that's physiologically aligned with your circadian biology. However, when seniors sleep late and wake suddenly at 8 or 9 a.m., their cortisol hasn't had adequate time to gradually rise. Instead, upon waking, cortisol must spike sharply to compensate for the lost gradual escalation period. This sharp cortisol spike creates an inflammatory cascade throughout your body. High cortisol spikes suppress immune function, increase blood pressure, trigger inflammatory signaling, and activate your sympathetic nervous system in a way that's more jarring than healthy. Chronic exposure to these sharp cortisol spikes, occurring every single day from repeatedly late waking, accelerates aging, increases inflammatory markers, impairs immune function, and elevates cardiovascular disease risk. Seniors maintaining early sleep schedules experience gradual, physiologically optimal cortisol rhythms that minimize inflammation, support healthy stress adaptation, and reduce the cumulative damage that sharp hormone spikes create. Glymphatic system activation represents one of the most recently discovered yet profoundly important mechanisms for maintaining cognitive health and preventing dementia, and it operates exclusively during sleep, with maximum efficiency occurring during early deep sleep stages when seniors who maintain optimal sleep timing experience the greatest neuroprotection. The glymphatic system is essentially your brain's waste disposal mechanism, a network of channels between brain cells that allows cerebrospinal fluid to flow through the brain, washing away metabolic byproducts that accumulate during waking hours. These byproducts include amyloid beta and tau proteins, the same proteins that accumulate in Alzheimer's disease and other other forms of cognitive decline. During wakefulness, your brain is focused on processing information and the glymphatic system operates at minimal capacity. But during sleep, something remarkable happens. Brain cells actually shrink, creating larger spaces between them, and cerebrospinal fluid rushes through these enlarged spaces, flushing away accumulated neurotoxins. This glymphatic activation is most powerful during deep sleep, particularly during the first deep sleep cycles that occur earliest in your sleep period. When seniors sleep at 10 p.m., their deepest sleep stages occur between 10 p.m. and midnight, when glymphatic clearance is maximally activated. Their brain efficiently clears the neurotoxins that accumulated the previous day, maintaining cognitive clarity and protecting against protein accumulation. However, when seniors sleep at 1 or 2 a.m., their deep sleep and glymphatic activation occur later in the night, and the clearance window is compressed. By 6 or 7 a.m., their body is already transitioning toward wakefulness, and glymphatic function begins declining before complete neurotoxin clearance has occurred. The cumulative effect of nightly incomplete glymphatic clearance is devastating. Amyloid beta and tau proteins gradually accumulate in the brain, triggering neuroinflammation and cognitive decline. Studies show that seniors maintaining consistent early sleep schedules show significantly lower amyloid beta and tau accumulation, better cognitive preservation, and dramatically reduced dementia risk compared to late sleepers, making glymphatic system timing potentially the single most important factor determining cognitive longevity. Consistency versus duration trade-off reveals a counterintuitive yet scientifically validated principle that fundamentally contradicts how most people approach sleep optimization. Maintaining the exact same sleep schedule 7 days a week is more important for longevity and health than achieving slightly more sleep hours with inconsistent timing. Your circadian rhythm operates like a biological metronome that requires precise, predictable timing to synchronize all your body's internal clocks. When you sleep at the same time every single night and wake at the same time every morning, your body develops an internal expectation. Your hypothalamus, the brain region controlling your circadian rhythm, begins preparing for sleep and wakefulness at precisely predictable times. Your hormones, melatonin, cortisol, growth hormone, begin releasing on schedule. Your cells begin their repair work at synchronized times. Research directly comparing consistent late sleepers to inconsistent sleep schedules demonstrates this principle with striking clarity. A senior who consistently sleeps from 11 p.m. to 8 a.m. every single night, despite non-optimal timing, shows better health outcomes than a senior who sometimes sleeps 9 p.m. 5 a.m., sometimes 11 p.m. 8 a.m., and sometimes midnight 7 a.m., despite the inconsistent sleeper achieving better average timing. The reason is that circadian coherence, the synchronization of all your body's biological clocks, requires predictability above all else. When your body can predict precisely when sleep will occur, it can prepare optimally. When sleep timing varies, your body remains in a constant state of adjustment, never fully synchronizing. Inconsistency creates chronic circadian misalignment, where your digestive system is stimulated during sleep hours, your immune system is suppressed when it should be active, and your stress response system remains volatile. This misalignment accelerates aging at the cellular level more profoundly than non-optimal but consistent timing. Seniors who maintain consistent 9 p.m. 5 a.m. sleep 7 days weekly experience superior health outcomes compared to those with variable schedules, demonstrating that predictability and stability in sleep timing outweigh achieving marginal improvements in timing consistency. Light exposure. Critical windows represents the most powerful and immediate tool available to seniors for resynchronizing their circadian rhythm toward earlier, more optimal sleep timing. Yet most people remain completely unaware that light is literally the master control switch for their entire biological clock. Light, particularly blue wavelength light, is detected by specialized cells in your retina called intrinsically photosensitive retinal ganglion cells that directly signal your hypothalamus and control melatonin production. When bright light enters your eyes, it sends a signal to your brain that it's daytime, suppressing melatonin production and activating cortisol release. This isn't a gentle suggestion your body can ignore. It's a fundamental biological command that overrides virtually all other signals controlling your sleep-wake cycle. The critical window for morning light exposure is within the first 1 to 2 hours after waking, because this is when your circadian rhythm is most responsive to light signals. When you get bright light exposure, ideally 10,000 lux or higher, which is the intensity of natural sunlight, immediately upon waking, you're essentially telling your body's master clock what time it actually is. This morning light exposure creates a powerful anchor point in your circadian rhythm. Your body then calculates backward from this anchor point to determine when melatonin should peak, typically releasing melatonin melatonin approximately 14 to 16 hours after morning light exposure. If you get bright light at 6 a.m., your body will naturally produce peak melatonin around 8 to 10 p.m. Equally critical is evening darkness, with the window being between 7 and 9 p.m. when your body is beginning to prepare for sleep. During this window, eliminating bright light, particularly blue wavelength light from screens, allows melatonin production to begin naturally. Dim lighting, warm-colored lighting, and absence of screens create the biochemical conditions for melatonin rise. Seniors combining consistent morning light exposure with evening darkness experience natural sleep onset by 9 or 10 p.m. within 2 to 3 weeks. Without any sleep medication or forcing, their circadian rhythm naturally synchronizes to this optimal timing because light, their body's primary synchronization signal, is guiding them there. We've explored 10 fundamental principles of sleep timing and their profound impact on your longevity, health, and quality of life. We've examined how your circadian rhythm controls virtually every biological process in your body, how early sleep aligns with your body's most powerful restorative mechanisms, how melatonin's peak timing determines cellular protection, and how the glymphatic system clears the neurotoxins linked to cognitive decline. We've discussed how growth hormone preserves your muscles and bones, how cortisol rhythm optimization reduces chronic inflammation, how temperature regulation becomes efficient during early sleep, and how consistency matters more than duration. And we've discovered that light exposure is the master control that determines whether your body naturally gravitates toward optimal sleep timing or remains trapped in patterns that accelerate aging. But here's what I want you to understand as you leave today. This isn't theoretical knowledge. This isn't interesting information that you can consider and forget. This is a practical tool, perhaps the most powerful longevity tool available to you, that you can implement starting tonight. You don't need permission, you don't need a doctor's approval, you don't need to buy anything or invest money. You simply need to decide that your sleep timing matters and then take action. The question isn't whether sleep timing affects aging and longevity. The research is overwhelming. The question is, are you willing to experiment? Are you willing to give yourself 3 weeks of consistent early sleep and morning light exposure to see what happens? 3 weeks. That's all it takes for most people to experience a complete shift in how they sleep, how they feel, and how they function. Here's what will likely happen. Within the first few days of getting bright light exposure, within an hour of waking and creating evening darkness by 8 p.m., you'll notice something subtle, perhaps a slight increase in evening fatigue by 9 or 10 p.m. By the end of the first week, you'll probably be falling asleep more easily at your target bedtime. Within 2 weeks, you'll likely notice increased energy during the day, sharper mental clarity, and less afternoon fatigue. Within 3 weeks, the transformation becomes apparent. You're sleeping more deeply, waking more refreshed, and experiencing a vitality you may have forgotten was possible. The physical changes follow. Your skin becomes more radiant because you're producing maximum melatonin during optimal hours. Your joints move more easily because your body has had adequate deep sleep for tissue repair. Your mind becomes sharper because your brain has been thoroughly detoxified by the glymphatic system operating at peak efficiency. Your mood improves because your cortisol rhythm is smooth and optimized rather than chaotic and spiking. You literally begin aging more slowly because your cells are being repaired during the hours when your body is most biologically prepared for that repair. But the benefits extend beyond the physical. Something else happens when you align your sleep with your biology. You begin to feel more in control. You realize that aging isn't something random or inevitable. You recognize that you have agency. You understand that your choices, specifically the choice of when you sleep, directly impact your health and longevity. This realization is profoundly empowering. I want to address one more critical point. This doesn't require perfection. If you can shift your sleep schedule by 30 minutes earlier than your current pattern, you'll experience measurable health improvements. If you can be consistent 5 days a week, you'll see significant benefits. If you can get morning light exposure 4 days a week, your circadian rhythm will begin shifting in the right direction. Progress matters infinitely more than perfection. Also recognize that this might feel countercultural. Our society celebrates late nights and sleeping in. There's a cultural mythology around burning the midnight oil and sleeping late on weekends. But I'm asking you to consider something. Is this mythology serving your health? Is this mythology helping you live longer, feel better, and experience greater vitality? Or is it subtly accelerating your aging? I wish you tremendous success on this journey. I encourage you to be patient with yourself, to celebrate small improvements, and to remember that consistency matters more than perfection. I believe that as you implement these sleep timing principles, you're going to experience a transformation that extends far beyond improved sleep. You're going to feel more alive, more energetic, more mentally sharp, and more capable of pursuing the life you want to live. Your best sleep is waiting for you. Your most vital years are not behind you. They're ahead of you, waiting for you to align your choices with your biology. I wish you all the luck in the world, and I'm genuinely excited for the transformation that awaits you. Go forward with confidence. Sleep early, wake early, let your body do what it's designed to do. Your longevity and vitality depend on it. Thank you, and sleep well.